Men leave when they feel unneeded or undervalued because at their core, men have an innate desire to feel like they matter. They want to feel like they bring something meaningful to the table, like they have a role, a purpose, and a place where they are seen and appreciated. This isn't about feeding egos. It's about the psychology of how men are wired. When a man feels like he's constantly fighting for relevance in a relationship, when he feels like he's replaceable or that his presence doesn't add value, he starts to detach. It's not always conscious, but it happens. At the beginning of a relationship, everything is fresh, exciting, and full of appreciation. The compliments flow naturally. The gratitude is evident, and there's an energy of connection. He feels like he's making you happy, and that feeling fuels him. But over time, if that sense of being needed starts to fade, if he feels like his contributions aren't noticed or valued, he begins to withdraw. This doesn't mean you have to depend on a man for your happiness or survival, but it does mean recognizing how much significance men place on feeling like they are making an impact in your life. Sometimes this happens because of complacency. Life gets busy, routines settle in, and appreciation turns into expectation. What was once exciting and new becomes standard, and the things he once did to impress or support you start to go unnoticed. If a man feels like his efforts aren't being recognized, he may stop trying. And when he stops trying, the emotional connection weakens. This is where resentment, boredom, or even the temptation to seek validation elsewhere can creep in. Another reason men leave when they feel unneeded is tied to their identity. Many men equate their value with their ability to provide, protect, and problem solve. If he feels like his input isn't wanted, if every decision is made without him, if he feels like he's just there instead of playing a meaningful role, he starts to question his purpose in the relationship. This is especially true for high-value men who are used to being leaders, decision makers, and problem solvers. If he feels like his presence doesn't make a difference, he may start to wonder why he's even there at all. Emotional connection also plays a huge role. If a man feels emotionally disconnected, like he's no longer needed for support, intimacy, or deep conversations, he may start looking for that connection elsewhere. Men don't always articulate their emotional needs clearly, but they feel them deeply. If he's constantly met with coldness, criticism, or indifference, he internalizes that as rejection, and rejection over time leads to detachment. There's also the dynamic of independence. In today's world, there's a strong push for independence in relationships, which is great, but sometimes it swings too far. If a man feels like he's walking on eggshells, like his role in your life is unnecessary, or like he's just another accessory rather than a partner, he may choose to walk away. Men come back when they sense familiarity, comfort, or change because human nature gravitates toward what feels known and safe. When a man leaves a relationship, it's often because he feels disconnected, undervalued, or uninspired. However, once he steps away, he begins to process the reality of that separation. The space allows him to reflect on what he had, what he lost, and whether or not that decision truly benefits him. Familiarity plays a huge role in why men return. When a man has spent significant time with someone, that connection doesn't just disappear. The habits, routines, inside jokes, and emotional ties remain imprinted in his mind. Even if he was the one who initiated the breakup, he will still feel the pull of what was once comfortable. This is why many men circle back after weeks or months. They find that the new life they thought they wanted doesn't feel as fulfilling as they expected. They miss the warmth, the stability, and the connection they once had. Comfort is another major factor. Relationships at their best provide a sense of security and emotional grounding. When a man steps away and finds himself navigating an unfamiliar world without the emotional support he was used to, he starts to crave that sense of stability again. Even if he left because he felt unneeded, unappreciated, or trapped, he may realize that the world outside the relationship doesn't automatically bring him the happiness or freedom he expected. This is especially true when he experiences disappointment, loneliness, or difficulty forming a new emotional connection elsewhere. Change is the third and most powerful reason men return. When a man notices that something is different, whether it's within you or within himself, it sparks curiosity. If you've grown, elevated your mindset, set new boundaries, or radiate a newfound confidence, he takes notice. Men are drawn to what feels fresh and exciting. If he left because he felt stagnant or uninspired, and he comes back to find that you've transformed into a stronger, happier, more independent version of yourself, it reignites his attraction. Change can also come from within him. Sometimes men leave because they aren't emotionally mature enough to handle the depth of a relationship. They may have commitment fears, personal struggles, or unhealed wounds that make them run when things get serious. But if he has taken the time to reflect, grow, and work on himself, he may return with a new mindset, ready to approach the relationship differently. It's important to recognize that when a man comes back, it's not always because he wants to fix things. Sometimes he returns out of habit, boredom, or ego. He may want to see if he still has access to you, if he can still get the same love and attention without putting in the necessary effort. This is why it's crucial to discern whether his return is based on true growth and intention or just a momentary desire for familiarity. Your worth isn't defined by their presence or absence, because your value as a person is not tied to whether someone chooses to stay or leave. Too often people internalize a breakup or a man's inconsistent behavior as a reflection of their own inadequacy. They start questioning themselves, wondering if they weren't good enough, pretty enough, smart enough, or worthy enough to be loved the right way. This mindset is dangerous because it places personal worth in the hands of someone else's choices, which are influenced by their own emotions, maturity, and circumstances. A man leaving does not mean you are lacking. People leave relationships for reasons that have more to do with their own internal battles than with the person they are leaving. He may have his own fears, insecurities, or unhealed wounds that make him incapable of staying. He may struggle with emotional depth, commitment, or communication. He may not even fully understand what he wants, which leads him to push and pull in ways that have nothing to do with your value. Yet many people take this personally, assuming that if they were better, the person would have stayed. This is an illusion that keeps people stuck in cycles of self-doubt. A man coming back does not validate your worth either. Just because he returns does not mean you suddenly became more valuable. It does not mean you finally proved yourself or that he now sees you as worthy. His return is a reflection of his emotions, his experiences outside of you, and his realization, whether temporary or long term, that he misses something about the connection. But his return is not a certificate of your value. You were worthy before he left, and you are still worthy whether he comes back or not. When someone ties their self-worth to external validation, they give away their power. They let someone else's decisions dictate how they feel about themselves, which creates an emotional roller coaster of highs and lows. Self-worth comes from within. It is knowing that you deserve love, respect, and consistency, regardless of how someone else treats you. It means not settling for breadcrumbs, not begging for affection, and not tolerating cycles of abandonment and return just to feel temporarily validated. True confidence is standing firm in your standards and recognizing that your value does not fluctuate based on someone else's actions. People who know their worth do not chase, beg, or compromise their standards out of fear of being alone. They understand that rejection is not a sign of unworthiness, but rather a redirection towards something better. They recognize that love is not about convincing someone to stay, but about being with someone who chooses them fully and consistently. When you build your sense of self-worth internally, you become immune to the emotional chaos that comes with someone else's indecisiveness. You stop seeing their departure as a loss and start understanding that the real loss is allowing yourself to be defined by their presence or absence. Stop chasing. Attract by becoming the best version of yourself, because the more you chase, the more you push away what you actually want. When you operate from a place of desperation, fear, or the need for validation, you give off an energy that is repelling rather than magnetic. Chasing someone, whether emotionally or physically, signals that you believe they are more valuable than you, that their presence in your life is what completes you, and that you are willing to abandon your own self-respect to keep them close. This is never a position of power, and it never creates the outcome you truly desire. Attraction happens naturally when you focus on becoming the best version of yourself instead of trying to convince someone to see your worth. People are drawn to confidence, to individuals who have a sense of purpose, to those who know their value and do not need external validation to confirm it. When you shift your focus from chasing a person to chasing your growth, your goals, and your happiness, you automatically become more desirable. The moment you stop running after someone and start walking in your own power, the dynamic shifts. Instead of seeking approval, you radiate a sense of certainty that makes people want to be around you. Becoming the best version of yourself means prioritizing self-improvement in every aspect of your life. It means working on your emotional health, your physical well-being, your mindset, and your personal ambitions. It's about becoming someone who is fulfilled on their own, rather than waiting for someone else to bring happiness. When you are genuinely content with your life, you no longer have to chase, because people will naturally gravitate toward the energy you give off. Scarcity mindset is one of the biggest reasons people chase. When you believe that love is rare, that you won't find someone else who sees your value, or that you have to secure a person before they slip away, you act out of fear. This fear creates behavior that is unattractive. Over texting, over explaining, over compensating, and tolerating things that go against your self-respect. The reality is that love and connection are abundant. And the only way to align yourself with the right relationships is by embodying the version of yourself that naturally attracts what you deserve. Energy speaks louder than words. If you are chasing, begging, or proving, you are communicating that you do not fully believe in your own worth. On the other hand, when you stand firm in your value, take care of yourself, and exude confidence, people feel that energy without you needing to say a word. The right person will not need to be convinced to stay, and the wrong person will not become right simply because you chase them harder. Shifting your focus to self-growth, self-love, and purpose allows you to attract relationships that are rooted in mutual respect, admiration, and genuine connection. Set standards, not ultimatums. Boundaries create respect, because the way you allow people to treat you is a direct reflection of what you believe you deserve. Many people mistake ultimatums for boundaries, thinking that demanding someone to change or threatening to leave will make them respect their position. But true self-worth isn't about forcing someone to meet your expectations. It's about standing firm in what you will and won't tolerate, and letting your actions speak louder than your words. Ultimatums come from a place of control, fear, and desperation. They often sound like, if you don't do this, I'm leaving, or you need to change, or this won't work. While this might create temporary compliance, it doesn't foster real respect or deep connection. When someone feels forced into a decision, they may change their actions for a moment, but resentment builds over time. People don't like being controlled, and they don't respond well to threats. Even if they give in to the ultimatum, it's not coming from genuine desire. It's coming from pressure, which leads to resentment and eventual detachment. Standards, on the other hand, are about self-respect. They are internal rules you set for yourself, not demands placed on someone else. A standard says, this is what I accept, and if this isn't met, I will walk away, not as a threat, but as a personal decision. When you have clear standards, you don't have to argue, beg, or plead for someone to treat you right. You simply allow their actions to show you whether they align with your values or not. If they don't, you remove yourself without drama or explanation. Boundaries create respect because they show that you honor yourself. People respect what they can't easily manipulate. And when you are firm in your boundaries, you communicate that you value yourself too much to accept less than what you deserve. A boundary isn't about controlling someone else's behavior. It's about controlling your response to it. If someone repeatedly crosses a line you've set, it's not about making them change. It's about deciding whether you will continue to allow it. Many people hesitate to enforce boundaries because they fear losing the person. They worry that if they say no, walk away, or demand better treatment, the other person will leave. But the truth is, the wrong person will always leave when they can't take advantage of your lack of boundaries anymore. And the right person will step up and respect you more for standing firm in your values. When you hold yourself to a higher standard, you naturally attract people who align with that level of respect. You stop wasting energy on trying to fix, change, or convince someone to see your worth. Instead, you make it clear that your value is not up for debate. The strongest relationships are built on mutual respect, and respect starts with the way you treat yourself. When you operate from a place of confidence and clarity in what you expect, you don't have to force anything. The right people will rise to meet you. Heal, grow, and elevate. When you level up, the right one stays, because the energy you bring into a relationship determines the quality of connections you attract. Many people focus so much on trying to keep someone in their life that they forget the most important part: becoming the best version of themselves. When you prioritize your healing, personal growth, and elevation, you naturally create an environment where the right people thrive and the wrong ones fade away. Healing is the first step because unhealed wounds create toxic patterns. If you have unresolved pain from past relationships, childhood experiences, or self-worth issues, those wounds will show up in the way you engage with others. They may manifest as insecurity, jealousy, fear of abandonment, or emotional unavailability. People often wonder why they keep attracting the same type of relationships, but the truth is that patterns repeat until they are healed. Until you do the inner work to address what's broken, you will continue to attract situations that reflect those wounds. Healing is not about blaming yourself or others. It's about acknowledging your pain, learning from it, and actively choosing to break unhealthy cycles. Growth is about evolving into a person who no longer tolerates what once hurt them. It's about developing emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and the ability to navigate relationships from a place of confidence rather than fear. Growth means taking accountability for your own happiness rather than expecting someone else to provide it. It's about learning how to communicate effectively, set boundaries, and recognize red flags early so you don't waste time on situations that don't serve you. When you commit to growth, you start making decisions from a place of self-respect instead of desperation. Elevation is the natural result of healing and growth. When you elevate, you raise your standards, your energy, and your expectations. Not in a way that is entitled, but in a way that reflects deep self-love. You no longer chase validation, beg for love, or settle for half-hearted efforts. Instead, you focus on your purpose, your passion, and creating a life that fulfills you with or without a relationship. This shift in energy is powerful because confidence and self-sufficiency are incredibly attractive. The right person will be drawn to your strength, your peace, and your ability to be whole on your own. When you level up, you naturally filter out people who aren't meant for you. Those who thrived off your insecurity, who benefited from your lack of boundaries, or who only wanted you when you were dependent on them, will struggle to keep up. The wrong ones will leave not because you did something wrong, but because they are no longer aligned with the version of you that is growing and evolving. The right one, however, will recognize your value and rise to meet you. They will see your healing, respect your growth, and be inspired by your elevation. Instead of feeling threatened by your strength, they will embrace it, because the right relationship is one where both people continuously push each other to be better.